main thing is you have to win.
Ill intent, violence, physicality, pain. Enough is enough.
All right, welcome back to the Just Win podcast. We are live after the Raiders lost to the Broncos 29-19. I'm Ted Wynn. That's Tashan Reed. That's Vic Tafer. They were at the game, and the Raiders' elegant tank continues. They continue to play hard. They continue to be in these games, and they just end up kind of just losing grip towards the end there. It was mostly a one-possession game for most of the game, but the Broncos end up winning by 10 here. What's the mood of the locker room like?
Why are we calling it an elegant tank? Why is it elegant?
Because you're not getting blown out. You know, you're competitive in these games, but you still achieve the ultimate goal of tanking at the end. And it's not really a tank, but you know, it is what it is. You're losing, and you're not losing by a lot.
I like it, elegant. Okay. The mood here is it's not good, I would say. I think we lost 7 in a row now. I think it's kind of a broken record. They kind of they hang in tough. The first half, they kind of at some point the defense makes a mistake or two, and it kind of costs them. And the offense can't score enough points today. Darren Carlson had 4 field goals, I think, when they could have definitely used it. Had a touchdown or 2. So I guess the big news is Gardner Minshew, broke his collarbone. He's out for the year. So the elegant tank now has a new general, I guess, with Aiden O'Connell back on Friday, probably.
Yeah, what are the chances Aiden O'Connell's back on Friday?
I think pretty good. I think that's the plan. I mean, obviously, we won't know until he actually tries to go and practice, but I don't think they want to go with Desmond Ridder, so I think the plan is for Aiden to be the guy.
Yeah, if he's healthy, he's going to be the guy. It's just a matter of, physically whether he's ready to go. I think both Vic and I tend to think that he's going to be able to return this week. It is a short week with them playing the Chiefs on Black Friday. They're going to be traveling on Thursday, and they won't practice tomorrow, but expect to have some sort of walkthrough on Tuesday. And so Tuesday is probably, the soonest we'll know if Aiden's able to get back out there. But it was his throwing hand that he broke his thumb on, and so that's why it's taken some time, and he went ahead and put him on injured reserve. But I would say it's trending towards him being able to play, and he's pretty much the no-brainer option. Desmond Ridder, he's struggled pretty badly the 2 times that we've seen him this season, and there's really nothing from his past that suggests he's a better option than O'Connell. So and that's what they were trying to do over a month ago now. When they initially benched Minshew for O'Connell, but then he broke his thumb and they had to pivot again. And so they've been wanting to hand the keys back to O'Connell for quite some time, and now they finally get to do it.
Yeah, here's an amazing stat about Desmond Ridder. In 22 games he's played in NFL, he's fumbled 17 times. And that's 2 times with the Raiders, and a bunch of times with 15 times with the Falcons. That's got to be some sort of record. I know Daniel Jones had his struggles fumbling early in his career, but man, 17-22. So imagine the Raiders probably don't see him out there.
By the time he came in today, though, the O-line was starting to get pushed back pretty good. So when he came in today, he had no shot. I mean, they were on him within 2 seconds. So, but yeah, you're right. It's a bad stat for him. But today was when he came in, it was not an ideal situation for a quarterback to come into.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say today's sack fumble was all his fault, but there is something to him just not being able to hang on to the ball when he gets hit. Right. But I don't think we're gonna see much of him with O'Connell coming back, like you guys said. And I know the offensive line kind of started getting pushed back a little bit in the fourth quarter, but I thought for most of the game, Gardner Minshew got pretty clean pockets. He was doing a pretty good job of getting rid of the ball pretty quickly too. But I mean, he had pretty clean pockets. He was able to go through his reads and get the ball downfield for the most part today against a pretty good defense. Yes, I mean that's an encouraging sign for this young offensive line. I thought JPJ had a pretty good game at center. Do you guys think this is going to Andre James is not going to get back in the lineup um, after seeing JPJ for extended period of time at center.
Yeah, I think we both think he won't be back. I think they kind of want to go with this group they have of five guys. Today was their second straight start with these five. I think they want to try and build some continuity. And like you said early on, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I don't know if it was halftime adjustments, but definitely the pressure got a lot more severe second half, and then they stopped going. I'm surprised. I asked Antonio about this. The run game I thought was doing pretty well for one of the few times this year. They kind of gave up on it, I thought, too early. But again, the O-line I thought had some positives in the first half. Second half, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, uh, it seemed like they averaged almost 4.5 yards per carry for most of the game, and I forget. I think I talked to you going into that last drive. I think they only had like 11 design rushes or something like that late in the fourth quarter. It just didn't really make sense, particularly since it was such a close game throughout. It wasn't like they fell into some big early deficit and had to claw them way back out. Like I really don't see any reason why Gardner Minshew was throwing it 40 times a game, particularly given how poorly he was playing. And you're going against one of the better pass rushes, or the right now the best pass rush in the league with the Denver Broncos leading the league in sacks. But it just kind of was a weird game plan, I thought, from Scott Turner. And be interested to see what he says when he talks this week about why he did that, because it was pretty perplexing to me.
Hey, if you're not going run pass and going getting to 3rd and 8s and getting sacked, I'm not complaining. I think the offense actually does look smoother with Scott Turner because the use of motion. There's guys getting open. The ball, Gardner Minshew was doing a good job of getting rid of the ball quickly, and there were outlets. Um, I wish they did a little bit of a better job of getting Brock Bowers the ball, but you could tell the Broncos were really focused on taking him away, and that really opened up some opportunities outside for Trey Tucker and Jakobi Meyers. But it was good seeing Trey Tucker find some success outside. I think the Raiders have been waiting on uh, Trey Tucker to have a good game, and he finally has one here against a pretty good secondary.
I think with Bowers, I think you saw at times had Sertan on him a few
Hmm.
times, a couple double teams. So clearly, it's a top defense, and they definitely those are a guy they had in their targets, and they still had some numbers, but late. But like you said, it's tough in the offense when your best player is not really a guy you can turn to often during the game.
Yeah, I mean, they had safety help on his side of the field for most of those dropbacks, I would say, and he had a lot of matches with Surtain. And as amazing as Bowers has been as a rookie, Surtain's the best cornerback in the league, and you're just not going to have a ton of success against him. And given how much attention that Bowers was getting, that did free things up for guys like Jakobi Meyers, 10 catches for 121 yards. And you mentioned, Trey Tucker had one of his better games as a pro as well. And so it's kind of the byproduct of it. If they are going to, it's almost a sign of respect, or it is a sign of respect for them to put Surtain on you as a rookie and not only have that, but also safety help going your way. And so I think, whether Bowers had a huge day or not doesn't matter as much as his overall impact on the game.
Looking at the receiving stats, jumped out at me. Sorry, some water. Jumped out at me that in the receiving stats, one catch for 34 yards. Divine Diablo. That's a guy who got to get involved in the offense more often. He showed some wiggle, some big play potential for Divine.
That was actually one of the more well-designed fake punts that I've seen. They basically ran a mesh concept. The mesh concept's when you have like crossers kind of running into each other to try to create a rub, but guys were so wide open they didn't really even have to create a rub. But that was a pretty nice play. And
Yeah.
as I always say, anytime you can have your punter throw to your middle linebacker, you got to do it. So, but overall, special teams did stand out today. Labe, Vic's guy, got a big return
Yeah,
on
good
kickoff.
for him.
Daniel Carlson had a good day, had a few good punts going on. Special teams played well today.
Yeah, and I just came on a day where special teams coach Tom McMahon didn't coach this game. It was under undisclosed reasons. Like right before the game, they announced it. So it was actually assistant special teams coach Darius Slinton the second that was dialing things up on that end. So especially considering that it was obviously they prepped throughout the week and he was there, so it wasn't like they just suddenly had to make a game plan today. But doing it pretty much on the fly, I thought it was pretty impressive. And not just special teams, but the defense I thought played pretty well for most of this game. Even though Bo Nix played pretty well, and I think this defense and special teams gave them every chance, to win this one. And it was really on the offense that dropped the ball.
Yeah, for sure. I
What was
thought
the
the
name
defense.
of?
Good.
No, what was the name of the special teams coordinator that coached today?
He's assistant special teams coach, but Darius Swinton.
Darius
is-
Swinton might have made himself some money today because there are some teams that are desperate for a special teams coach out there. So yeah, good job by him.
I was able to defense. I thought, again, the injuries are definitely stacked up. We saw that at times. Secondary had some issues again, but a bunch of new faces. And the rookie, DeCameron Richardson, had a really hard time going against Cortland Sutton. Is a big, big tough matchup. And but even with all that, the defense kind of held tough. Despite that, there's a one drive in the fourth quarter kind of killed them, and the touchdowns by Sutton. But other than that, they did enough, I thought, for the team to win today. If the offense had done a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Gardner Minshew and Bo Nix actually had the exact same completion percentage, 59.5. So Nix, he's been playing really well as of late, but he wasn't that great today. He was a little spotty with his accuracy, and they held the Broncos' run game in check too. They only averaged 2.9 yards per carry. So again, considering the circumstances, the defense being without five starters today, half their or more than half of their secondary now, like I don't know how much more you could ask out of them.
Yeah, and I thought they were going to blitz a lot coming into the game, and they did. They were just trying to blitz and get Bo Nix off his spot, and they're trying to blitz the edge guy so that he can't really roll out and run those bootlegs. It was pretty effective, but just the problem is, you have all these new guys in the secondary. You have communication problems. The play in the red zone when they put Mims in, I think it was a third down. They put Mims in the backfield as a running back. There should have been some sort of communications to get that handled. I mean, it was so obvious. He was in the backfield for a reason, and then he gets wide open. So it's just like these communication issues are killer. But what do you expect with all these new guys in the secondary? It's pretty tough. And blitzing, I think, was the right call. I mean, it's better than letting Bo Nix sit back there all day and then having to deal with other types of communication problems. And I thought they were pretty good against the run today. They gave up a couple long runs early on, but other than that, they pretty much stuffed the Broncos running game. But Sean Payton also had a really good job plan against the blitz. I'm pretty sure he knew the Raiders were going to come in blitzing. He had some nice screens designed. They had a plan, some creative protection calls they had, and they were able to get the ball downfield in the middle of the field, and they had that touchdown to Cortland Sutton, knowing they would get a one-on-one. So hats off to Sean Payton. I thought he had a pretty good plan. I thought the defense played hard though. Um, Tyree Wilson had a pretty good game. He had a sack. I thought he was, he got some penetration inside, and I thought he played pretty well against the run. And you can tell his confidence is going up, man. He got caught in the camera talking a bunch of smack to Bo Nix, and he must have said something really bad because Bo Nix looked like he completely lost it. Like he had these crazy eyes going, and then Ron Tolbert, the referee, like he had a crazy look in the camera, like, oh my god, I can't believe you said that. So it's a good thing. You want Tyree Wilson to be talking smack. It just means his confidence is growing.
Yeah, I mean he had a sack last week against the Dolphins. Had a sack today. He also had a pretty nice tackle for loss. Blew up like a jet sweep that they had when they were I forget what quarter it was, but they were in Raiders territory, and that pretty much blew up that drive. So he's been better. They've been, even though Malcolm Koonce has been out all season, they haven't been starting Tyree Wilson. They've been kind of using him as much more of a sub package rusher, which obviously you would hope that he'd be ready to start and take over guys like Charles Snowden and whatnot. But he's making progress, showing a little bit more of the flashes that they expected to see when they took him seventh overall. And he's still a super young player, raw player, and see if he can continue getting better moving forward.
Like I said, it's been 4 games now for Max Crosby without a sack, but I thought he was very disruptive today, especially in the run game. I think he had 3 tackles for losses, and so not a dominant game from Max. Definitely a guy who definitely was a nuisance. I think the other guy I thought played really well was Trayvon Merrick. Definitely is really relishing his role as the kind of enforcer of the line of scrimmage. He's hitting people, he's knocking away passes, and kind of showing his range. A guy who I think has made himself a lot of money, and then in the offseason is a guy who will be a free agent.
What's Jack Jones' contract situation like? Is he Is he on a 1 year or is this his last year?
No, he's
No, I
still
think
under
he's
contract. He's on his rookie deal still.
his rookie
Okay.
deal. Yeah,
He has one more year
I
on his
thought.
rookie deal.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
he
because
played
they
well
claimed
today.
him off of waivers.
Hmm.
He had some nice plays today. He had a couple. He had a tackle for loss and a pass breakup on the touchdown to Sutton. Man, that Sutton's just too big for him. But I think he got to just. But otherwise, I thought he played okay today. I thought he definitely had a back injury last week. He missed practice on Wednesday and Thursday. Came back Friday, so definitely not 100%. But I thought he gave a good effort today, and he's definitely I think a piece of the puzzle maybe going forward.
He's tackling today, man. He had 7 tackles. Had a tackle for loss. So he's being physical out there. It seemed like
Yeah,
he was hyped up. And with Max, even though he didn't have a sack, I thought he was pretty disruptive in the run game today. I mean, he had 3 tackles for loss, and like every time it seemed like every time he hit somebody, he was hitting the shit out of them. Like he was fired up. So I thought the defensive front overall played pretty well today, and the Broncos they were just really able to exploit that matchup with Richardson, but. It's kind of hard to blame the rookie. Like they weren't expecting him to play much this year. I think this was probably supposed to be a redshirt year for him, but due to injuries, they kind of just had to throw him out there, too early, and he's struggling right now. But that's how you got to work through it, growing pains. So, we saw last year, Jacoby Bennett had a really rough rookie year and, was getting exploited in a similar way. And we see how he's bounced back this year. So, experience is still valuable. At this point in the season, like they're not going anywhere. So, I think getting young guys like that some reps is only a good thing for planning out the future.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we'll see what Richardson could develop into, but he's just getting kind of thrown into the fire right now, and they're asking a lot with these blitzes. Putting him on an island and having him figure it out. But this experience will be good for him. I mean, they just kind of have to right now. They have to kind of play this high variance type of game to compete right now. And I mean, they are competing. The Broncos have been playing very good ball as of late, and they had a chance in this game. But the elegant tank continues. They are 2-9. They are sitting in a three-way tie with the Jaguars and the Giants. And obviously, the Giants are going to need a quarterback. They just cut Daniel Jones. The Jaguars are probably not going to move on from Trevor Lawrence. They just gave him a big contract extension. So, what do we think about the Raiders putting themselves in a position to get a quarterback high?
It's a hell of a spin on it. But I mean, I guess that is the silver lining of this is they are going to be in range to draft a quarterback, assuming that there is one that they think is worthy of that sort of selection, which we have to see. I'm sure they don't know that fully yet throughout the offseason evaluation period. But I mean, the big thing right now is the Giants are still ahead of them, and the Giants are drafting a quarterback. So if they're ahead of you, that's still an issue for the Raiders. And would the Jaguars potentially be interested in trading down? Like maybe. I mean, if you think that the Raiders and the Giants are both going to take a quarterback, and they're not going to draft one since they have Trevor Lawrence, it's like what do you have to lose? But I would assume that the Giants would also, be interested in trying to trade up. So. And it's not like it's just one quarterback in this draft class. I know Shadur Sanders. We've talked about him a lot, especially earlier this week with Romy coming off on the show. But Miami's Cam Ward, and there's some others out there that have some intrigue. So we'll see how it all pans out. But they're in the mix right now, and we've talked about it all year. They're kind of in, or not kind of in, but they are in quarterback purgatory. Minshew's done for the year. O'Connell, even though he's going to come back, like we know O'Connell's not the long term answer, and the free agent market isn't looking good next year for now. I mean, we'll see what happens with like Aaron Rodgers' old ass, but most
oh,
likely the Raiders are gonna need to draft a quarterback, and
no, no, no,
they,
no.
they 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 need to find one they like this year. So Tom Telesco, I know we kind of gave him a pass this year for not taking a quarterback because I mean there really wasn't any option left at 13, but you got to do what you got to do to get your guy this offseason, I think.
Watched football yesterday all day, all the quarterbacks, and it wasn't that pretty. I gotta say. I mean, I guess Sanders did okay even though they lost, but other guys I wasn't terribly impressed with. I watched them on and off all year, but definitely not the same class of quarterbacks as it was last year. So I think it's kind of bad luck for the Raiders in that regard. But you got to do your homework, find a guy you like, and move on with that guy. But yeah, that's what it's all about right now, right? Look, Raider fans want to look to the future, have some hope. They want to find their own kind of their own version of Bo Nix at some point. Because Bo Nix definitely gives this franchise a kind of a new a new face and a new excitement. People are fired up in Denver land. So I think the Raiders want that same kind of thing for their fans at some point.
All right, let's before we talk about the quarterback class a little bit, let's slam the door on the Daniel Jones thing. Ian Rappaport kind of tweeted out that the Raiders might be interested in Daniel Jones, and maybe Daniel Jones might be interested. Um, I just don't think like that's a move you make now. Like, why go pay Daniel Jones for what? Like, was he going to come in and maybe win a couple games with the Raiders? Like, are they interested in bringing him in next year? Like, what do you guys think about the Daniel Jones to the Raiders thing?
I saw another report where it said he wants to go to a contender. He wants to be a backup, which I think is probably the way to go for him, and also for. I just think
That'd be the
I don't
smart
think
move
he.
to me.
Yeah, I think he does. I don't think he wants to go to a bad team and get killed for, like you said, for what? Like, there's no reason, there's no guarantees the guy next year. It's kind of a really rough audition for a guy who's had a rough year already. So, why not have, some nice peace and quiet and go be a backup and learn from a new coordinator and kind of take a breath of fresh air and kind of get ready for next year. Because again, there's always going to be a need for quarterbacks, so there'll be a demand for him next year somewhere. Even though it sounds sick to say, as bad as he's been this year, but I don't think it makes sense for him or the Raiders to kind of pursue that next week.
Yeah. Also, just like I mean, O'Connell, we're expecting him to be back this week. So if he is back, why would you what like just start him? There's no really need to go get another guy. Particularly not one that has been awful this year. Like when you look at expected points added as like an advanced metric that like values efficiency, and in the NFL among all passers, Gardner Minshew is 31st this year. 30th is Daniel Jones. So
That's an upgrade. Ooh.
why would over Gardner Minshew, which we think Aiden O'Connell is also an upgrade over Gardner Minshew. According to Ted Nguyen, the entire season, he has told us this since week one that
Yes.
Aiden O'Connell is a substantial upgrade over Gardner
He is.
Minshew. So
He's
You
the
know
no
what?
need to go get
a
there's no need
five
to go get
spots
Daniel
over
Jones.
30 is 25. So that's an upgrade.
I
Thanks for
know
the
what happened.
math. That was
I don't know what happened to Gardner Minshew this year, but obviously the version from the past was better than Aiden O'Connell. But this year's version, I don't know what happened to Gardner Minshew, but this year's version is definitely worse. I mean, he's definitely he lost some confidence. He doesn't, when he moves now, he scrambles. It's not really to make plays. It's kind of to avoid disaster, and he kind of stumbles around. And the accuracy's gone downhill. Turnovers have gone way up. I don't know what happened to Gardner Minshew, but this year, clearly he's not the same guy the Raiders thought they were getting when they watched the film from the previous year. Something happened. I don't know what. That's a great mystery, but clearly this year's version of Gardner Minshew is definitely worse than Aiden O'Connell's. There's no question. So if I was suggested otherwise this year, then I apologize because I was wrong. He's definitely worse than Aiden O'Connell.
All right, I'll talk about the QB class a little bit, and keep in mind I haven't really broke down all 22 on these quarterbacks, but Shadir Sanders. I mean, I thought the conversation with Romy was pretty interesting. The insight about how him and Pat Shermer kind of collaborate to adjust the game plan and kind of create a new game plan as the game goes along. And I think the hope with Shadir is you get him in. He's a smart, pro ready quarterback that you can adjust the game plan with and all those things. But as far as traits wise, there's no real great traits, physical traits that jump at you. And physical traits matter. I mean, I know some people don't believe that for quarterbacks, but physical traits matter. I mean, look at Bryce Young, brilliant quarterback. I mean, he did a lot of really good stuff at Alabama, as far as processing, line of scrimmage stuff. And, he's just not physically ready for the NFL. And those things matter, especially when you're drafting a guy in the top five. So we'll see how far Shadir can kind of push his draft profile. I mean, I think it would really help if he had a big game against a really good defense in the playoffs, or contending for the playoffs if Colorado gets that far. And then Cam Ward, he has a bunch of B+ type of traits, but he also plays a very unorthodox game. You could see that high variance in those Miami games. He'll hold on to the ball, he'll run around, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And it's not like he's a high traits type of quarterback as well. I think his traits are a little bit better than Shadir, but he's not like a elite athlete as well. So there's drawbacks to these prospects. I mean, as this is not like a quarterback class like the Kenny Pickett class, but it's definitely not the high end class where there's a top five, um, for sure, top five type of quarterback that you want. But obviously, those quarterbacks are going to get pushed up because the league is desperate for quarterbacks. But you know, we'll see how these guys continue to develop as the season goes along. There's still some games left, but that's just my take on the class for now.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
guys,
like I said, I haven't jumped in super deep in like all 22 and all that, but I don't. If it's not Shadur, I don't really feel that great about taking any of these other guys
he's a
anywhere
cleanest
close to the
prospect for
top
sure.
10. Really. Yeah, like I don't think I would do it. Cam Ward, like you said, he has those physical traits, but I don't know. It just looks like I wouldn't say Anthony Richardson level, but he kind of has some of that to his game where he kind of his decision making just is kind of like, what are you doing? It's like the basic stuff. And I know that like Dane Brugler had Milroe above Shitter Sanders. I don't understand that at all after watching that
I
Alabama
think
game.
I think Milrow's got the highest upside, but it might take a while to get there. I think he's definitely a project more than the other two guys are.
Yeah.
And then and actually, it sounds dumb to say this, but like you shouldn't judge a quarterback by a tackle attempt. That tackle attempt that game was so bad and so soft. I was like, yeah, I'm not sure that guy can be my quarterback, but whatever. But I think Cam Ward, I watched him more than I should this year because they played Cal and watched some other games. But I think he's just too streaky for my taste. And I think also it's kind of weird, but I think Miami they have more success when they run the ball. They're a better team. They run the ball a lot than when they pass the ball, which is not a great sign if you're getting their quarterback. But I think he's also a guy with some question marks. But again, it's not a great class, but you hope to find the jewel in there somewhere and kind of build around that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm kind of. Oh, go ahead, Ted.
I think Dane's thinking with Milrow is he's not a big Cam Ward fan, and I can understand if some people don't like Cam Ward. And Shadir is just a clean prospect, but for a top five quarterback, you want to see a little bit more high end traits. And to him, Jalen Milrow is a guy that he's gotten so much better as the season's gone along. He's still
Yeah.
not at a point where you could say he's a clean top five type of quarterback. He's definitely a developmental guy, but tons of traits, super athlete when it comes to running, and he's a lot has a live arm. He's a much more accurate passer than Anthony Richardson was coming out of college. So you have all these tools to work with, and I think his thinking is if you're going to pick a quarterback in the top five, you might as well pick a guy that has the ability or the talent to be kind of one of those blue chip quarterbacks.
But the
Yeah.
problem
I
is
mean, like,
if you're a coach or GM and you're taking him, you better by the time he's
Yeah.
ready, you may be fired. So you got. I mean, that's a tough thing to weigh. It's going to take him a while, I think, to really get to that point where he can play well in the NFL.
and the traits thing, I get it, but like, you don't have to have like elite traits to be an elite quarterback. Like Joe Burrow is playing as good as anybody this year, and he has no elite traits physically. Like he's mobile, like he can move around, but like he's not running a 4.3 40 or something like that. He's not, jumping 45 inches. Like he's a good athlete, but I don't think it's necessarily required for you to be top five worthy, and Burrow went number one overall. So, but I will say, like, I don't think that Telesco, he's not the type of guy where he's going to force it at quarterback. You look at his history, like it's no brainer type of guys like the Justin Herberts of the world, that just have all the physical tools in the world, that he tends to lean towards. So, but you have to have if you're going to do the stopgap thing again, it can't be another Minshew, type of whiff. You got to have a guy that significantly better than that. But I can't be mad at you if you're, let's say, you are number three, and the Giants takes your door number two, and you're like, well, shit, I'll take Travis Hunter, I guess. Like I can't say that's a bad pick, even though you don't have a quarterback. And you can always draft one later, whether it's trading back into, maybe let's say you like Milrow at the end of the first round or early in the second round more than you do in the top five. That's also a way that you could go about doing something like that. So, but they have to come out of this offseason with some sort of new answer at quarterback. It can't be Minshew's gone, but it can't be Aiden O'Connell and friends again.
Maybe Garoppolo is finally fully healthy after a year off. Bring him back. Now that he's fully healthy and ready to go.
Oh God,
Go to
no,
hell.
no,
I'm not watching that again. No, sir. No,
we're not doing
sir.
that.
No, but
See, y'all
this
told
year
me,
he's healthy.
nope,
It's
nope,
a healthy
nope,
Garoppolo this year.
nope, nope.
Dirt
See, I
cheap,
had
veteran.
to,
He was healthy
nope,
at the
Players love
beginning of
him.
last year, but he made his receivers
Nah, no, he
unhealthy.
wasn't. No, he wasn't healthy last year at all. I mean, again, he was terrible. I'm blaming a lot of that on injuries, but I was kidding. But about bringing him back, but it's not a great free agent class. So you have to be creative at some point if that's the way you're going to go.
got it. Both of y'all hated in free agency that's been way better than anybody they have. Russell Wilson. He act like he was fucking the scum of the earth or something, and
It's the scum of the earth.
He,
That's what I said. I said he was the
I'm just
scum of the
saying.
earth. I
I'm
was
just
wrong.
saying, man.
I
Would have
was
been a lot
wrong,
better than
Russell.
Gardner Minshew.
Right.
he would not be playing well with the Raiders.
Be
I'll give him
better
credit.
than
He's played a
Gardner
lot
Minshew.
better than he's played a lot better this year, but he's kind of gave in to what he is at this point. You know, he's not like trying to be this pocket quarterback that's going through his reads. He knows what he is. You know, throw jump balls and throw check downs, and that works for the Steelers, who have a very good run game and defense, which the Raiders do not have at the moment. But yeah, who knows? Maybe if Russell Wilson played, they might win a game or two, which is not good overall.
Yeah, to be clear, they would have been bad this season regardless with all the injuries and everything of that nature. But I'm just saying, moving forward, um, if I think you got to come out of free agency with some sort of insurance plan. Just kind of it depends how the draft order falls. Like if they end up with the number one overall pick, then you don't you just draft whoever you determine to be the best quarterback right there. So
Right.
it's just still what 6 games left. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Okay, let's get into questions. Quick one. I see Andrew Madrid asks, "You guys think AOC starts next week?" We kind of talked about it at the beginning. Vic and Tashan believe that he will be the starter in Kansas City. No, it's going to be in Las Vegas, right? Against the Chiefs.
No, it's Kansas
No,
City.
KC.
Oh yeah, in Kansas City. Next
We're gonna
question.
lose regardless, but yeah, I think it'll be O'Connell.
Hey, you never know. Last year's Christmas game, they won. Hey, the
Go.
Panthers almost beat the Chiefs today, right? They do not care about the regular season. What's Tashan drinking?
It's a smoothie.
What's in a
Nothing.
smoothie? Come on, man. Be
Fruits,
descriptive.
fruits, and fruit. it's, it's a healthy smoothie.
Too healthy for me. All right. Not a question, but a suggestion. Justin Fields. What do you guys think about the possibility of Justin Fields if the Raiders don't draft a quarterback?
Uh,
I
I, I,
would I would say he played as well as he could have, and he still got benched by the Steelers. So I don't know if there's a lot of upside there. I think he is what he is. And ideally for the Raiders, you want something a little more exciting, potentially a little more of a. This could be the guy that takes it to the next level. I don't think Justin Fields is kind of that guy. But if you're desperate, I guess maybe. But I don't think that that's really your best plan going into the offseason.
yeah, I mean, like at least he's a guy that has some traits, and he's young enough to where he can still theoretically have some upside. Like, I don't think it's a bad process to sign a guy, in March when free agency comes around, just to have a fallback option. But still, even if you do sign Justin Fields, you still need to be aggressive in trying to draft a guy. But again, like we keep talking about this, there's no guarantee that the Raiders believe that there's a first round caliber quarterback or even a top five caliber quarterback in this draft class. And I know Dane Brugler and Nick Baumgartner, our draft guys, have been adamant that like teams are all over the place with how they view this quarterback class. And so they're not just going to take one just to take one, but you have to do something. Like we said, you can't just run it back with the same type of group.
All right, next question. What's going on with the O-line? Miller is not playing well. Parham is mediocre. Time to buy a guard in free agency and draft Miller's replacement. I think Miller's been playing pretty well. I mean, before this game, he didn't give up a sack in how many snaps? So it took him a little while to get healthy again, dealing with that shoulder injury in the offseason. But he's been playing pretty well. I mean, the Broncos are the best pass rush team in the league by several metrics. So this is not an easy team. I think Miller should be the Raiders left tackle for the future, unless they feel like they could get some sort. I mean, he's I would say he's borderline elite, not quite there. Very good at the very least. And yeah, I don't think it's going to be easy finding a replacement for or an upgrade over Miller.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the offensive line is just young guys needing to keep progressing, like Jackson Powers Johnson and DJ Glaze. But I think you always, offensive line is one of those positions you always need quality depth. As the Raiders have found out, they had a ton of injuries this season that they've had to deal with. But if there's a upper tier offensive tackle prospect in the draft or some help that you can add in free agency, I think that's fine. But I think it would be more so on the right side than the left side. Like I think, Glaze has been fine as a rookie. I don't know that he's shown enough to where he's like, all right, that's our starting right tackle for the next 5 years or whatever. So I still think like that's a position where if they can find an upgrade, cool. But with Miller, like I think he's bound. He had a really rough start, and I think that's colored people's view of him in the season. But I think he's gotten better, and also he's on a pretty cost effective contract for a starting caliber, left tackle. So I don't think you just change it just to change it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the goal the rest of this year is have these guys keep playing together, and hopefully we see some signs of a run game develop, some lanes opening up for guys to get through, and keep the quarterback cleaner than he has been. So I think that's the hope going forward, and we'll be able to judge. I think the rookies especially, and guys like Jordan Meredith more after these next 6 games. Is Jordan Meredith a guy you can look at as a cheap starter next year? We'll find out in the next 2 months.
Yeah, I want to see DJ Glaze continue to progress. I mean, I think he's been a nice surprise for where the Raiders drafted him at, but um, in those one-on-one pass blocking situations, especially today, he wasn't that good. And again, the Broncos are very good, but I want to see him continue to progress before you make any sort of commitment to him. Not that they were planning to, but I think it would be a good thing for the Raiders if he becomes a potential starter next season, and they don't have to worry about that position. So that's something I'll keep watching out for. All right, next question: trade for Kirk Cousins if you can't get Shadur.
I think that's kind of
Mm,
impossible, isn't it? Because his contract next year. I think next year it's way
Yeah,
too much, but
Too
maybe
much dead
like
cap.
the year after next year, maybe if we still want him. But I think next year doesn't make sense for either team to trade him next year. I don't think financially.
yeah, I don't think it's feasible. And in terms of like team that might be open to trading their quarterback, I don't think there's one that really comes to mind that like
Well,
stands out above the pack.
someone threw out there. I forgot who it was. Someone, I think it was a national guy. Like, what about Trevor Lawrence? If the Jags have like a whole new front office deal, a new
House.
coach, all that stuff, they want to draft a quarterback early on, then they could trade Trevor Lawrence to a team and start from scratch. So I don't know if they
I
really
mean, I
want
think
Trevor
if
Lawrence with that contract, but I mean, who knows what his upside is based on. He's had some really bad coaches and a lot of change there his time there, and I don't give him an excuse, but not the guy he's supposed to be. But still, you see the traits like we talked about of a guy who could be a top quarterback, and maybe there's a chance to get him for not too expensive. But who knows? That's just something that's a wild rumor at this point, a theory. But maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I have to look at I don't know how his deal is structured, but I would figure if Kirk Cousins isn't tradable, that Trevor probably isn't, since he just signed that big contract. I don't know what the dead money
Yeah,
hit would be, but
yeah.
um, it
At one
depends how
point in
much
time,
they paid him out.
right?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, we got the Raiders got to stop with these band-aid stopgap type of quarterbacks, and they have to eventually draft one. And again, this is not the greatest quarterback class, but we'll see how it plays out. But just the band-aid and stopgap quarterbacks, like it's going to limit how far you can go as a team. So,
Well, Trevor Lawrence wouldn't be a band quarterback. He'd be a guy
oh yeah,
who's
yeah. I
really,
mean,
I mean,
if that was possible, I mean that'd
right.
be ideal if you find the right offensive coordinator that thinks he could
He's
fix
25
him.
years old, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
So
All
it's
right. Is it
interesting.
possible the Raiders can have a single season without any dysfunction, or is it just the reality of being a Raiders fan?
Man, it's been a long time doing this. I have not seen 1 year yet. So I think it's just part of it. That's part of the deal. You wear the face paint and you say Raiders. That's just part of the whole. That's what you buy into. You buy into drama and carnival like atmosphere.
Yeah, all things considered, this year has been relatively tame, I would say. Like offensive coordinator getting fired, that's not moving the needle on Raiders dysfunction in the last 15 years. I guess that's not high enough bar. It's probably about as thin as you're gonna get is this year.
Yeah, I guess pretty tame. I mean,
Yeah,
He
it
had the
just
whole
suck. Like it's not particularly like, it's not like a whole bunch of crazy shit has been happening. Like not
yeah,
good.
no, but still had the
no
whole
frozen feet, no people
business
getting
decisions
arrested.
was yeah, you're right. It's been better, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Second, the quarterback position. What is the biggest issue position on a team? So other than quarterback, what's the team's biggest need?
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's a few. I mean, obviously, but go ahead.
I was going to say running back, but then today I saw Sincere McCormick. Maybe that's the guy. But who else? I'm trying to think. Defense. I mean, it's hard to say because all the injuries, but definitely if Kuntz is not back, we need another pass rusher next year. I know Tyree, whatever, it's getting better, but I'm not sure he's the guy you can plug out there and expect 10 sacks from in the season. So I say pass rusher and maybe probably a top cornerback, maybe if to kind of move Ja'Cory and Jack Jones down a notch in the ladder. But those are my two things that jump out to me.
Yeah, I think when I did like a story earlier this week with Nick Baumgartner about what their options could be if they don't take a quarterback. I think receiver stands out. There's some pretty talented receivers in this draft class. And I think Jakobi Meyers is a solid number two, and Trey Tucker's a smooth number three, but they don't really have that number one outside receiver that you can go to every week. And so I think that stands out. Cornerback, like you said, edge rusher, potentially offensive tackle. So, the premium positions, but I don't think there's like one that's clear cut above the rest outside of quarterback. So it's just going to come down to the caliber of prospect. But with Nick, when I was talking to him, it seems like edge rusher is probably the deepest one amongst those groups, edge rusher and receiver. Um, the other one's a little bit more top heavy, just when you're talking about first round talent, like at cornerback, like it's Travis Hunter and Will Johnson, and then there's a little bit of a gap. And offensive tackle isn't too good this year compared to last year. So it kind of just depends, but I think it's going to be that true, best player available approach that we saw them take this year. I don't think anybody was really expecting them to draft a tight end, so they might surprise us.
Yeah, I think other than tight end, I wouldn't blink if they drafted any other position in the first round because they have some solid players all around, but they could definitely use a star upgrade in many positions. So,
Somebody
um,
asked about running back. Would you approve of that? Would that be okay with you?
I mean, they need a running back, but in the first round for where this team is at right now is pretty
Mm.
lofty. I mean, that's pretty. I feel like that's mismanagement of resources. Um, I mean, you pick a running back when you're ready to compete and you're ready to go. You don't pick a running back when you have a lot of other needs elsewhere, especially at quarterback. So, yeah, to me,
Yeah,
that would not be a good deal.
I
yeah, I
was half
agree.
joking. I was half joking about Sincere, but I thought he looked good today. And I mean, the other guys have not looked good. So if Madison and Zamir are back next week, does Sincere get a shot, or is he back behind those two guys?
Mm,
I mean, he did look solid today. I mean, I don't know if it was enough for him to like, take over as the lead guy, but I think you can get him involved, at least in the run game. And I just think overall, when it comes to Scott Turner's approach, like even if Aiden O'Connell is better than Gardner Minshew, like he shouldn't be throwing the ball 45 times a game either. Like
Right,
they need to run the ball. They have to get those attempts up. Like it's just not a
right.
sustainable approach on offense. So if they don't have a one bell cow guy, which is obvious at this point, then maybe you have two or three guys that are getting carries and mixing it up depending on what the situation is. But I thought he flashed today, and maybe that's enough for them to get him more involved moving forward.
yeah, I'm all for playing the young guys at this point. I mean, Amir Abdullah and Madison aren't going to be your running backs of the future. White maybe there's still some hope there, but I mean, he just seems to be what he is, and yeah, Sincere showed some pop today, so we'll see. You get some carries, but that's all we have for you guys today. Thank Thank you for
Wait,
joining
we got one
us.
more. Somebody's
We got
trying to
one
peer
more.
pressure Vic.
I don't see it.
Uh-oh.
My
Where is it
man,
at?
some man, Steven.
Stephen
Oh,
L. It's on my list,
Stephen
man. Maybe
L.
tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow.
Keeping the people
All right.
waiting, man. Wow.
Yeah, everybody's
I'm a,
asking
bit,
when's Vic getting on Blue Sky.
I'm a busy man, man. You guys both on Blue Sky?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tired of people on there fucking asking me where's Vic. So I need you to create an account. Stop asking like I'm your dad or something. Like I don't control what Vic
Ah,
does with his phone, man.
ah. Now I actually want to hang out and hold out a little longer now that people are bugging you. I kind of like that idea. But all right, tomorrow's on my list. Monday, go on Blue Sky. I got it.
All right. There we have it. Vic will be on Blue Sky tomorrow. All right. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and wherever you get your podcast, make sure you leave a review and rate and subscribe there too. Yeah, really appreciate you guys for joining us. I know it's a tough season, but hopefully they're tanking towards that pick and things get a little more exciting.
They're not fucking
We'll see.
tanking, man. Trying to win. Trying to win
Yeah,
some
they're
games.
trying and failing. Trying and failing, man.
The
It's all
elegant
good.
tank. Just compete.
You and this fucking term. If you say elegant, take one more time. They just suck. There is
Yeah,
no intentional.
uh, I know what you mean, but elegant's the wrong word. You gotta think of a different word. Elegant doesn't fit there, but whatever it is,
Listen,
they're
nothing about these games that we've been watching has been elegant. Like, this is
no,
terrible
it's the wrong
football.
word. But
I'll
they're
think of a new
definitely
word by Friday.
they're on pace for whatever their goals are. I mean, if their goals, so they're getting there.
Okay. All right, guys. We'll talk to you guys on Friday. Wait, nope.
Adios.
We are going to do an early
Whoop.
podcast this week, right?
Yeah, early. I think we're recording Tuesday for Wednesday. So see you
Okay.
guys Wednesday.
See you guys
Tuesday for
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Holy crap! All right,
Yeah.
hasta la vista.
All right, y'all.
Later.